Sometimes life throws bold moments at you, like finding the perfect vacation or finding the ideal location. At BOS, we're there to help you meet those moments with bold confidence. So whether it's managing money for future plans or getting what you need to start planning your dream, we're here to bring you a better banking experience. Make the bold move and switch to BOS today.
Hi, this is Ron Kincher with Muddy River News. This is the Business Spotlight brought to you by the Bank of Springfield. We have Eric Ervin, an insurance agent with Country Companies. We've never had an insurance agent on this program. So of all the ones in town, we chose you. So congratulations.
It's an honor.
Very
it's quite an honor to be here.
Have you here. So you didn't go to college or anything like that hoping to be an insurance agent, correct?
Actually, I got a degree in journalism in college.
So what did you do right out of college?
I went in sales.
Okay.
Went and worked for a local company here that's no longer in business, Fisher Business Equipment.
Okay.
Wonderful people that ran that. And I worked for them for a year, and then I went into Chicago and worked for a little over 2.5 years with a fairly large Japanese company. You might have heard of them, called Canon.
Okay.
Copier, cameras, printers, fax, all that
type of stuff, right.
And worked up there for about 2.5 years, and then moved back to Quincy in 1991 and went to work for WGEM.
Okay.
And worked for them for just a little over 9 years, and then found what turned out to be my longest career.
So how did that
country?
How did you find that career? Did they find you, or was it something you're just looking for a change of life?
You know, I honestly, when I came out of college in 1988, it was a little bit tougher to find jobs at that time, it seemed like, and I had an opportunity to go work for Fisher's and do some marketing, and that was kind of what my area of expertise, so to speak, in college was it was a journalism degree with an emphasis on public relations, and got about a year's worth of experience with them, and made some contacts with folks in Chicago with Canon, which was a product they sold, and so that's how I ended up in Chicago. Really wasn't looking to sell office equipment, but was looking to get out of Quincy at the time. Mary Ann and I had just gotten married and decided we wanted to live up in a big city, at least for a while, give it a shot. We did, and discovered that while you could make more money up there, you could certainly spend a lot more money.
Yeah.
And honestly, we decided that we wanted to start raising a family, and you know, you start looking at price of houses and that where we were living at in Naperville, and you know, you couldn't find a bungalow for less than $300,000 or $400,000 back then. So we kind of thought, you know, maybe it makes sense to come back to Quincy, and so we did.
So the insurance job, how did that come about?
Well, I'll tell you, like I said, I worked with WGM for just over 9 years, and left there in late 2000, and was planning on going down to Columbia, Missouri, and working for Zimmer Radio Group, and had accepted a position with them, and was going to basically go down and start up a new sports station for them and run that. And about 3 days before we were to leave, my wife broke down and said, "I don't want to leave. I don't want to move." And so suddenly I'm got to call them up and say, "Can't make it."
Right.
And now I got to find something. And I get a call one day. A gentleman by the name of Butch Berlin. He was the local agency manager for, at that time, Country Companies. And he said, "We have a mutual acquaintance who said you might be interested in coming to work for me."
Okay.
And honestly, I thought, I didn't want to sell insurance. I just don't. I don't want to do it. And so I told Marianne kind of what was going on, and she's like, "You know what? We need money.
Right.
You don't have a job. You know, it's my fault you turned down the one in Columbia." And she says, "You at least need to go talk to him."
Yeah.
And the rest, as they would say, you know, is history.
So the negative aspect that you had about selling insurance, obviously you found positive aspects of selling insurance.
I did. You know, like a lot of things, you if you're not familiar with it, you get a preconceived notion. And I'll be honest, one of our best friends who's no longer with us, Reggie Coleman. Reggie called me one night when I was still working for WGM and wanted to sell me life insurance from Knights of Columbus.
Right.
And I wasn't in the market for life insurance. I had some, and so we it just kind of, you know, resonated in my mind that I don't know if I want to have to do that. I felt bad for him because, you know, he's out here making phone calls and trying to get people to come talk to him, and I thought, you know, that's not what I really want to do. But again, when you go without, you know, a job for a few months and you're suddenly needing an income, So anyway, I went and I talked to Butch, and one of the things he talked to me about was the things that country insurance and the insurance industry as a whole can do for people. And he said, you've really never experienced anything like delivering a death benefit to a widow. And I never thought of it that way. And having done that now, I can tell you the impact that it makes on people's lives, because it allows them to stay in their house, allows them to send their kids to school, and like anything, you've got insurance agents just like you do anybody else that's in sales or any other business. That there are some you don't want to talk to, and then there are some that will really go out of their way to do the right thing, and I try to do that.
Well, you've experienced kind of both sides of the insurance industry, where everybody hates insurance until you need it.
Well, and that's just it. And one of the things that appealed to me about country when I interviewed with Butch back in the day was he talked about retention, and he said in the state of Illinois, which is where we're based out of Bloomington, he said country has about the highest retention rate in the industry. He said they do that because we take care of people. We're looking out for their best interest, and he says, we're not perfect, no company is, but he said if you come here and you do things the way we want you to do them and you're supposed to do them, he says you'll have a great career, and he says you'll have many more people who will appreciate what you do than ones that don't.
Yeah. So you've been doing almost 25 years, right?
Getting close, yeah.
So how has the product line changed much for what you're able to offer people?
Certain things have. Property and casualty, which is your home and your auto and commercial, farm, things like that, has not really changed much. I mean, some of the coverages and things like that have changed, but pretty much it's been steady for those 24 plus years. Where we've seen the biggest difference is in the financial side and in the life side.
Okay. So you're able to do the financial side?
I was, up until about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I had my securities license, was able to do the same thing that you could get at an Edward G. Jones or a lot of the brokerage companies, and made the decision at that time that I was going to give up my securities license.
So then you're able to sell securities when Country Financial came in, right? Was it the same parent company or was it a different name?
It's the same company. No, we've just changed the name a couple of times over the years.
Okay.
It was Country Companies for forever, and if you ever watched the state high school basketball tournament, you knew that because Country Companies was the major sponsor, still are. And but really what they felt like probably about 8-10 years into my career was we do so much more with financial, with life, with investments that people aren't maybe familiar with it.
Okay.
And so it was kind of just a natural tendency to go, let's go to Country Financial and insurance services.
So you've always been able to offer those services?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question I have for you is there's multiple Country Companies agents here in town, like there's multiple State Farm, everybody.
Yeah.
So how does that work? I mean, are you guys fighting over territory, or is it divided by neighborhood?
You could. I mean, honestly, and I'm sure there's agents that do fight each other over territory. Not so much with Country because of the way the corporate philosophy is. But one of the things that Country wants you to do is kind of work as a team, but yet be an individual. I don't know if that makes much sense, but there are, as you said, there's a handful of agents in Quincy. There's a number of agents outside the area in smaller communities. We all work under one umbrella. We work under what's called the Mississippi Valley Agency. We have a district leader, Jesse Palmer, who oversees all these agents. But technically, I'm a self-employed business person, and I'm contractually obligated to represent Country products and to represent it the way they tell me I have to represent it. But I'm not, by the same token, I'm not trying to steal things from other Country agents. I'm not out, saying, hey, I can do a better job for you. It's not unusual for a younger agent to call me and say, hey, I've got a question, would you be able to answer it? I'm going to help them.
Right.
I was there at that time at one point.
So I'm sure you hear a lot about rates and them going up all the time, and do they ever go down?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Does it? So there's a soft and a hard market generally for insurance type stuff, right?
Yes.
So is there anything right now in a soft market as far as the rates go? Here's where I'm going, because all you hear about, like, all the fires and all the
Sure.
hurricanes and all that type of stuff is jacking my rates up, even though I'm not anywhere near
Right.
where those things are happening.
You know, the insurance industry it can be a very volatile industry, and I've been through the ups and downs over the years, and you know, one of the things that has affected the insurance industry quite a lot here in the most recent years is the fact that inflation has really played a part. You know, the tariffs, which are now, you know, we've been a lot of talk in the news
Right.
about tariffs, and certainly if cars, the price of a car goes up, well, guess what? It takes more now to replace that car from an insurance standpoint. Pretty good chance it's going to affect your rates. So there's some things that the insurance industry really, I don't want to say doesn't have a control over, but they're kind of at the mercy of the economics of this country. And you know, I had a chance to talk with a good friend of mine who's a body shop owner here in town, and he said, you know, 2 or 3 years ago I could replace this bumper for X amount of dollars, and he said today it's going to take almost double that. And he said it's not because our rates have changed, it's because the cost of that part has changed. And ultimately, you know, if you're replacing a part for a client and it costs double, well, somewhere along the line you've got to be able to pay for those claims. So
there's different insurance companies that can offer lower rates than you guys do, right? I mean, there's cheaper ones, and
everybody's got their own structure.
That's what I was getting at.
And the thing that you keep in mind, though, is it's more than just price. And that's one of the things that I've been, I think, very successful with as an agent is I've never sold price. I try to sell service. And maybe that sounds like a cliche, I don't know. But trust me, if you're in an accident and you've got to wait 2 weeks for a claims adjuster to get a hold of you, was it really worth it to save a few $100s? If God forbid, your house catches on fire and an adjuster can't get out there right away and you've got to come up with money to go rent something, again, was it worth it to save a few $100s? And that's the thing that I always tell people, and I try to talk to them about, look, if you have an issue with country, you've got a local agent, we've got local claims people, we've got a reputation of taking care of our clients, and that's one reason why our retention is so high. We do take care of our clients, and so I try to sell from that aspect, try to sell the fact that if you have a claim, you're not going to wait 3 or 4 days or a week or whatever it may be for somebody to get a hold of you. They're going to get a hold of you right away, and we're going to get you in a shop if it's a car, or we're going to get you into an apartment or a hotel overnight. You know, if you got a fire and you need someplace to stay, or you need some clothes, we're going to get you checks. Things like that are really, I think, what separates companies. And yeah, you can get cheaper rates. There's no question.
Get what you pay for, basically.
You get what you pay for in a lot of
Yeah.
instances.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thanks for coming in and sharing.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Eric Ervin with Country Companies. This has been the Business Spotlight, brought to you by the Bank of Springfield.